Be careful, this stuff, otherwise you can get out of control like quick.
Holy God.
Yeah, yeah. This is probably a really good intro to Scotch.
Welcome to Circuits and Scotch, where we talk electronics, manufacturing issues, tech specs, and while sipping on some whiskey.
Love this job. I'm Glenn, this is Jeff. We're here with NAS Electronics, and we try to answer the questions we get all week long in a fun format. Hopefully it's fun. Let us know below. Be kind, because we're new to this, and we don't script nothing. You see a couple words written down, but this is all live. So
absolutely.
There you go.
So this week's question is, how do I protect my IP?
There you go. It's one question we hear all the time, over and over again. Especially for startups. You know, if you're an established company, you know how to walk through this whole process, but we work with a lot of startup companies, and they're always asking us how to protect themselves there. So before sharing your idea with anybody, you want to make sure you protect your IP ownership by getting an NDA signed. That's a great first step of protecting yourself. It's a non-disclosure agreement, which means we can't share anything you share with us without anybody else without your written permission.
Absolutely. And with the NDA, that's just kind of a basic level, especially domestically, it works pretty well. Internationally, it gets a little difficult. Patents, domestic patents are a great way to protect yourself as well. International patents are just frankly a little difficult to enforce. It's really hard to enforce those.
There's no worldwide protection right now for a patent, and we hear that a lot too. Is like, hey, how do we protect it from somebody ripping it off overseas? And of course, talk to your attorney. But as far as we're aware, right now there is no way to actually do that, sadly. And then even worse is there's a lot of countries that actually encourage the use of IP theft as a way of supporting their own economy. So be careful with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One thing I always say when if your volumes are low, there's just no reason to risk your IP offshore. There's the economy of scale. If you're doing 5,000 units a month or 30,000 units a year, then going offshore for the cost savings probably makes sense. If you're doing 2,000, 5,000 boards a year, then the cost differential between doing it domestically and offshore probably isn't that intense, depending on your specific build, of course. Differential there being, of course, if there's a lot of labor involved, right? Offshore guys make on average about $300 a month. Our people would not be happy with that.
No.
No. So if there's a lot of labor involved, then it's going to be difficult. It might be more makes sense to go offshore. But if it's all run on the automated equipment you see behind us, then our stuff runs pretty smooth at a comparable rate. So.
Absolutely. So what tips do we have for them? I know we had a couple tips for them, right?
There you go. Some questions you want to answer is, will they sign a non-disclosure agreement with you? How do they actually protect my IP? So just ask the question, hey, how do you guys protect my IP if I give you all my information? Then lastly, do the suppliers that they work with also have an NDA signed with the company you're working with? So if you want to make sure that you have an NDA with us, and you want to make sure that we have an NDA with all our suppliers, so you're protected.
Absolutely. Next thing I'd say is use discretion when you're outsourcing, especially when you're sharing your design. If it comes by that your CM is outsourcing certain parts of the assembly or the entire assembly, be very careful when you're sharing the whole thing. Again, if you're sharing a Gerber, there's very little somebody could do to rip that off. If you're sharing the Gerber with the BOM or the CAD file, it's really easy to just take that and reverse engineer it.
I jump ahead right here. One of the tips is protect your firmware. A lot of our clients like to do the programming of their boards themselves in-house. A great way to protect the firmware. So if you have any doubts at all, do the programming of your units yourself. Okay. Once you establish a relationship with somebody you trust, hopefully like us, then of course we can actually do the programming of the chips for you as well. But by not sharing your firmware, the software behind how your product works, that's a great way to protect yourself.
There you go. And then honestly, domestic sources, I know it's kind of beating a dead horse here, but domestic sources are your best way, because they have to abide by the NDAs, they have to abide by patent laws. There's no way to get around it when you're using domestic US.
Yep.
That's the easiest and simplest way to protect your IP right off the top.
Nobody likes to be sued. In the States, it's easy to do that. Another country, impossible. So next thing would be possibly is to visit the factory if you can. We're in Las Vegas, so hi, come see us, hang out at the hotels. We get more site inspections here. We used to be out of Southern California. And we had site inspections a lot, but here we get them all the time, because what a fun place to come see us, right?
Oh, it is. Especially, and again, the other side is right now with everything going on, Virtual works amazingly too. I know that we frequently will do just a FaceTime walkthrough of our facility so you can see what's going on. So that helps as well, especially when you're limited on what you can travel right now.
Yeah, there you go. So if you visit, you get that face-to-face feel, or over virtual, because that's the thing right now. But you just get to know the people you're working with. That's wonderful. Not something easily done if you're dealing with an offshore factory. Okay, so.
Right.
I think
that about wraps up. I mean, without getting too much into the hardware side.
Yeah, check our website, because we've got like a 4-page document that you can read through that really has a lot more information. Again, we're not lawyers, guys. We're actually sitting here drinking scotch, so don't trust anything we said. Talk to a professional. All right.
Absolutely.
But this is how, if you're on a phone call with either of us tomorrow, this is how we'd respond.
Exactly.
Okay.
And speaking of scotch, today's Dewar's Caribbean Smooth, and it is aptly named.
It is.
Holy crap. I think when we tried this a couple minutes ago, we were warning ourselves that we have to pace ourselves because this goes down like water.
It is. If you're a Scotch or whiskey guy, this is super smooth. Honestly, if you're a beginner, this is highly recommended by me, because doesn't have that burn.
No,
that burn, that bite that Scotch or whiskey has sometimes, which I love, by the way. But this one does not.
And what they did was they aged it in rum cask. That's why they call it the Caribbean Smooth. And so,
oh my God,
that aged rum cask, and then they tossed it in the rum cask for another 6 to 8 years. And it just,
there you go.
It's clean.
So on a using the class 1, 2, or 3 rating system, which is IP, you get electronics nerds know what we're talking about. I would probably rate this for a beginner. This is class 3. If you're an advanced Scotch or whiskey person, I'd give it a class 2.
Good sipper. You're not going to really get a lot of character out of it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're into all of the flavors that you get out of the really, really, really incredible
Especially
Scotch.
if you're a classic Scotch drinker.
Exactly, exactly. Perfect. Well, I'll tell you what, if you found this helpful,
if you got any questions, comments, concerns, queries, or conundrum, toss them in the comments below, or of course we put our contact information in the description, so please reach out.
I always let him do that part because I have no idea how any of this works. So, but be nice if you're doing comments. Be nice, because this is unscripted. We're just having fun and answering questions we get all week long. So until next time,
hit the like button, subscribe button, and keep on building.
And keep on sipping.